Okay, let's unpack this $10.5 trillion.
Wow.
That's the jaw-dropping figure projected for the cost of cybercrime by the end of this year. It really makes you think about what you're up against, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. I mean, that number, it's astronomical, sure, but it's not abstract. It translates to very real challenges for, well, organizations of all sizes just trying to keep themselves safe online.
Which is getting harder.
Definitely harder.
So for this deep dive, we've turned our attention to Rebasoft. We've been digging into an audio presentation they did and also combing through their website.
Right.
And our mission today, really, for you listening, is to cut through the usual marketing speak and figure out how Rebasoft is actually trying to tackle some of these big cybersecurity headaches.
Things like tool sprawl.
Exactly. That. The sheer complexity of managing maybe dozens of security tools, the rising costs, and crucially, how they plan to help stop those really damaging data breaches.
The ones that can sink a business.
Yeah. So think of this as your shortcut to getting a clear picture of their approach.
Precisely. We're trying to filter out the noise, bring you the essence of what Rebasoft is offering, and maybe more importantly, how it positions itself against those challenges you might be facing right now.
Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks then.
Yeah.
What are the fundamental problems businesses are wrestling with today when it comes to security?
Well, the big one, the backdrop to everything, is just the sheer volume and, frankly, the sophistication of cyber attacks. They're constantly escalating.
Always evolving.
Always. But what makes it even tougher is how security has often been built up over time in many places. You know, it's often reactive, a new threat pops up.
You buy a tool for it.
Exactly. You add a point solution. And this leads naturally to what everyone calls tool sprawl. Just this explosion of different security products.
Tool sprawl. It's a good term for it. You end up with, just a collection of different systems that don't really talk to each other or work together smoothly?
That's it precisely. Each tool might do its specific job okay, but managing all of them, the overall complexity becomes a huge drain.
A drain on resources.
Definitely. Think about it. You've got all these different interfaces to learn, separate data feeds you need to somehow make sense of, and just the constant battle of making sure they're all configured right, working together, kept up to date.
Yeah.
For you listening, this probably sounds familiar if you feel like you're spending more time just managing the tools than actually, focusing on strategic security stuff.
And it's not just the hassle, is it? The cost must be pretty significant too.
Oh, absolutely. You've got the initial purchase price for each tool, then the ongoing subscriptions, licenses, and then the hidden costs, like training staff on each specific system. And you layer on top of that the well-known shortage of skilled cybersecurity folks.
Yeah, finding people is tough.
It is. So you end up with a really significant financial and operational burden. It adds up fast.
Okay, so that paints a picture. It's complex, it's costly. How does Rebasoft propose to untangle this knot? What's their solution?
Well, Rebasoft's core idea, their central pitch, is a unified platform. It's designed specifically to hit these problems head on.
Unified, okay.
They're really pushing this all-in-one strategy. The aim is to consolidate those separate security tools into one single integrated system.
Integrated. That sounds like the right direction for simplification anyway.
Yeah.
So what are the key parts of this unified platform? What does it actually bring together?
Okay, so based on their presentation and the website, it integrates several really essential security functions. Key ones are asset discovery.
Knowing what's on your network.
Exactly. Knowing what you actually have, devices, systems, everything. Then there's vulnerability management, finding the weaknesses. And network access control, basically, managing who and what can connect.
Okay, the fundamentals.
Right. And the core idea is by having these critical pieces working together in one place, you can seriously cut down on that tool sprawl we talked about.
And hopefully make security management simpler.
That's the goal, a more streamlined approach.
Let's drill down a bit. Real-time asset inventory. The audio mentioned this specifically and said it works without scans or agents. How does that work? Why is that a big deal?
Yeah, that's an interesting point they make. They claim they provide this real-time inventory natively. Now, traditionally, finding your assets involves, running network scans periodically.
Which only gives you a snapshot in time.
Exactly, a snapshot, and they can eat up network resources. Or the other way is installing software agents on every single computer or device.
Which is its own management headache.
Totally. Agent deployment, updates. It's a lot. So Rebasoft suggests they can continuously identify and catalog assets just by watching the network traffic. No scans, no agents needed.
Okay.
For you, the benefit is meant to be a much more accurate, constantly up-to-date picture of your whole IT environment. You're not working off old scan data, and you skip the agent management complexity.
And having that accurate real-time view must be crucial for everything else, security-wise.
It's foundational. Like you said, you can't secure what you don't know you have, or if your information about it is stale. This becomes the base for your other controls.
Makes sense. Automation was another keyword they used. How does Rebasoft use automation?
Well, automation is pretty central to their pitch for reducing the load on security teams and cutting down on human error.
Right, less manual clicking.
Pretty much. So by automating things like that continuous asset discovery we just discussed, or the ongoing scanning for vulnerabilities, even tracking if fixes have been applied, the idea is to free up your security people.
Let them focus on the bigger picture.
Exactly. Higher level strategy, threat analysis, incident response, not just the repetitive manual tasks that can eat up so much time.
Okay. And compliance and reporting. Anyone who's faced an audit knows that pain. How does Rebasoft claim to simplify that?
Yeah, audits are never fun. Their argument is that because they provide that granular real-time view of assets and their security state.
Because it's all in one place.
Right, and because they're continuously checking for vulnerabilities and configuration issues within that single system, it just makes generating accurate, comprehensive reports much easier. You avoid that nightmare of trying to pull data from 5 different tools and somehow stitch it together.
Which is always where errors creep in.
Always. So hopefully less time, less pain, more accurate reporting for audits and compliance checks.
They also use the term native discovery, giving fresh data. Is that just another angle on the real-time inventory thing?
It's closely related, yeah, but the emphasis on native kind of reinforces the idea that the data is gathered passively from the network itself.
Ah, okay. Not actively probing.
Less active probing, more observing what's already happening. It's about monitoring the infrastructure continuously, rather than relying on those periodic scans or endpoint agents. Think of it like having a constant pulse check on your network.
So the data is always current.
That's the claim. This constant stream of fresh information means your visibility stays relevant, letting you be more proactive, hopefully.
Okay, so the audio gave us that core asset discovery, vulnerability management, NAC, automation. But the website seemed to broaden the picture quite a bit. What else do they highlight there?
Yeah, the website definitely adds more layers. It expands on that foundation. So network access control, NAC, is prominent, really key for controlling access.
Who gets on the network?
Precisely. Then they talk about network monitoring, specifically using NetFlow behavior monitoring.
NetFlow. That's about traffic patterns, right?
Exactly. NetFlow data shows you how traffic is moving around your network. By analyzing those patterns, you can spot unusual activity, things that might indicate a compromise or something malicious going on.
Looking for anomalies.
Right. Secure configuration is another big one, making sure systems are set up securely and stay that way, based on best practices.
Like hardening guides.
Yeah, along those lines. And they really stress continuous vulnerability management on the site. Not just a one-off check, but an ongoing process.
Which makes sense. New vulnerabilities pop up daily.
Constantly. The website also explicitly mentions features for fighting ransomware.
Always a hot topic.
Huge topic. And they talk about supporting both NetOps and SecOps teams. Trying to bridge that gap, maybe.
That traditional divide. Interesting.
Yeah, suggesting the platform offers value to both network and security folks. System consolidation is another big theme, obviously tying back to fighting tool sprawl.
Right, the core problem.
And importantly, they highlight support for established security frameworks, things like Cyber Essentials, C++, the CIS controls.
Which is important for demonstrating compliance and maturity.
Absolutely. So for you, the listener, these extra capabilities paint a broader picture. It's about offering a more comprehensive suite, trying to cover more bases, but still within that integrated, unified platform idea. Powerful, but hopefully manageable.
It certainly sounds comprehensive. Now, who's actually using this? The audio had that slightly weird reference, memes, to large enterprises. What does that really mean?
Hey, yeah, the memes bit was clearly just a colorful way to say a very wide range.
Okay, so not literally meme accounts using enterprise security.
Probably not. The underlying message is just that they see their solutions as scalable, adaptable. They're aiming for organizations of different sizes across various industries, not just, say, massive banks or tiny startups, but a broad spectrum.
Right. And how do they position themselves against competitors? What's their main selling point in a crowded market?
their core argument, their differentiator, really comes back to eliminating those siloed solutions.
The unified platform again.
Exactly. They argue that by doing that, they can seriously cut the total cost of ownership TCO compared to managing lots of separate tools.
Makes sense. Less licensing, less training.
Right. And at the same time, they claim it boosts the efficiency of your security team and actually expands your overall security coverage because things work together better. They also mention flexible subscription options, trying to cater to different budgets and company sizes.
The audio also mentioned a partner, Enterprise Red. How do they fit in?
Yeah, Enterprise Red, they were presented as a key managed services partner. So they offer Rebasoft's tech as part of their own bundled service, the ER Cyber Protect package.
Ah, so you could get Rebasoft directly or through a managed service.
Looks like it. Which could be a good option for companies that maybe don't have a big in-house security team or just prefer to outsource that function.
Overall, Rebasoft seems to be pushing an affordability angle too.
Yes, definitely. Affordability comes up. Making robust security more accessible seems to be the message. They also talk about listening to customer feedback and evolving the platform based on that, suggesting they're trying to stay aligned with real-world needs.
Okay, so if someone listening is intrigued and wants to learn more, where should they look?
Well, the audio pointed towards enterpriser.com, which is the partner site, Enterprise Red.
Right.
But for Rebasoft itself, their own website is the main place. A quick search for Rebasoft should find it easily.
And what's on their site?
It looks pretty well structured. There are sections for solutions detailing the specific capabilities, platform explaining the integrated approach, use cases showing how it's used in practice, and frameworks detailing that Cyber Essentials and CIS controls support.
Plenty to dig into there. Any other resources, like white papers or guides?
Yeah, they have a resources section. It looks like it includes a blog, case studies, info on recent vulnerabilities, some secure configuration guides, news. Pretty standard but useful stuff.
Okay.
There's also a support portal and a knowledge base wiki for existing users. And if you want to talk to someone directly, they list a phone number. +44 800 779 7322.
Good to have.
And like most platforms these days, the website makes it easy to schedule a demo or request a chat with one of their experts to talk about your own specific needs.
Right. Standard call to action. Okay, so let's try and tie this all together. What's the main message, the key takeaway for our listener from this deep dive into Rebasoft?
I think the core takeaway is this. Rebasoft is putting forward a unified cybersecurity platform. It's engineered, they say, to cut through the complexity of IT security management.
Simplify things.
Right. Simplify, reduce the costs tied up in managing loads of separate tools, and ultimately give you stronger protection against, well, the constantly changing threats out there.
And they do that by integrating key functions.
Yes, by tightly integrating things like that, real-time agentless asset discovery, continuous vulnerability management, and network access control all within one system.
And the main benefits Rebasoft highlights for you, the user.
The big ones they push are getting that complete real-time visibility without the hassle of agents or heavy scanning, automating a lot of the critical but repetitive security tasks, and making compliance reporting easier and more accurate. All supposedly within a platform designed to be powerful, but also guest effective.
Okay, I think that gives us a much clearer picture of what Rebasoft is bringing to the table. So maybe a final thought here for you, the listener. Take a second to think about your own setup. Consider maybe the hidden costs, the sheer complexity involved in juggling multiple, perhaps disconnected security tools day to day. Could a more unified approach, something like what Rebasoft is proposing, actually offer a more effective, maybe a more efficient, and ultimately a more secure way forward in today's world?
Yeah, it's definitely something worth mulling over. Does consolidating make sense for your specific situation?